I was talking to a friend this week about having an agenda for a meeting. It was a scintillating conversation. And the reason we were talking about it was because he was explaining to me why he likes having them for a meeting. And not that I'm against them, but I was like, well, explain. What's the win-win? Why do you love having an agenda? And he said, well, the number one reason he likes it is so that he's never surprised. So if he has an agenda before the meeting, he has time to prepare for whatever it is they're going to talk about. But the other reason he liked it was because an agenda provides organization. Like if you talk about one thing, there's a logical, everything that you want to talk about, you make sure it follows a logical order. He said he likes agendas because it helps make sure we focus on the right thing. And of course, accountability, that we're both doing what we're supposed to be doing. And as I thought about that, and I was preparing for this Sunday, I thought, man, that's actually a perfect message for this weekend. And specifically what I mean by this is maybe in a certain sense, we would benefit from having some organizational structure to our prayer lives, by putting a little extra effort into preparing for our time of prayer. Think about it this way: if you have a moment and you can plan for when you're going to spend an hour in prayer, what it's going to look like. That's the organizational structure. One of my favorite agendas, if you will, to my own prayer life right now is a couple of worship songs that I love, and then I pray with Scripture, and then I pray and I talk to Jesus, and then I try to listen, which is obviously the hardest part for me to shut up and to listen to Jesus, right? Hopefully I'm not alone there. That was supposed to be more funny than it was. But of course, that's the organizational structure, but then there's the focus, right? So whether I'm praying about my homily, or whether I'm praying about something I'm struggling with, or maybe I'm praying for someone I'm concerned with, I'm praying for that focused thing throughout the entire time. Whether it's with the music, the Scripture, what I'm telling Jesus, and then listening. And of course, that accountability part of our agenda is actually letting Jesus talk, taking that time to let him speak to us. I think there's one problem when it comes to this that we need to avoid. We can certainly bring an agenda, right? That prepared organization for how we're gonna pray. But we can't have an agenda. And what I mean by that is, we talk a lot, there's this phrase we use, that person has an agenda. Usually that means they're trying to make something happen. Well, when we go to prayer, we can't have an agenda. We can't go to prayer with the audaciousness to say, Lord, this is what you're supposed to do for me. Or even worse, to give the Lord a little report card. Here's all the ways in which you haven't lived up to your promises yet. Yikes. That's not really the way we ought to pray. But we can certainly plan out our prayer life. I'm sure many of us we want to go pray, we sit down in the church and we think, what now? Well, the what now is making sure we put some sort of thought into what we're going to do. It's interesting, though, when it comes to prayer, in order for it to be successful, it needs to be consistent, and we need to be present. That's what I think Samuel really shows us in our first reading. He doesn't hear God the first time. It takes him 4 tries. It may take us several tries to learn how to hear God's voice. And it may consistently take us several tries, but the point is to be consistent. Because if we consistently show up and are present to God, he will, of course, reveal himself to us. Of course, Jesus reaffirms this in our gospel. He says, come and see. He invites us to come and to spend time with him. At this parish, shameless plug, but we have adoration on Tuesdays from 4 to 10 p.m. and then on Thursdays from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. This is a time that we can come and see and come and spend time with the Lord. And I think every Christian adult can commit to 2 things. There's more things, but for our prayer life's sake, I think we can commit to 2. The first is to commit to at least 15 to 20 minutes of prayer daily. And some of us might think, well, Father, I'm just too busy. And I'm like, okay, but how much TV did you watch and how much Facebook scrolling did you do? If you did it for 15 minutes, you have time. The other thing we can commit to is 1 hour a week in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And again, we've got adoration available, but the chapel's open more often than that we can spend in front of the Lord. Because Jesus desires to speak to us. He invites us to come and to see and to be with him. Are we going to be like Samuel and say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening"?